Hey, booting up the old show here. Nice.
I can confirm Twitter.
Good. That's good.
You mean X?
Oh yeah, X.
Still
LinkedIn's on.
the fact that I get
Gillmor
the
Gang is
spotlight.
on
We have a style right there.
Facebook.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We're just ignoring
We
you.
have a skylight right there, and it makes my hair like a halo. It's terrible.
You look like the singer
in
in the
Hollywood.
B.
In Hollywood, they do that deliberately.
You look like the singer in the B-52s.
It works for me.
They
though.
put lights up and high behind the actors to make their hair glow.
Yeah, well, I don't
Okay,
think
Tina.
it does me justice.
Tina,
Okay.
please.
Please, Tina.
Please.
stop this.
James Brown, 1965, live at the Apollo.
Okay, folks, here we go. We're live on at least Twitter. I'm hoping Facebook.
We're live on
Got
Facebook.
that notification. Maybe LinkedIn. We don't know.
Yes.
Yes, and hopefully YouTube.
Facebook.
All right, so here we go. Mute is off. I gotta get speaker view. Okay.
2.
Mute is off, and we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Steve Gillmor here. This is the Gillmor Gang. Welcome to a whole bunch of people after my lower third goes away.
Oh,
And now?
yeah, you could,
All right.
maybe a little bit about the Gillmor Gang.
Yeah, maybe not.
We've been around for a long time, huh?
Okay, Miss Happy.
No,
Whatever you want to do.
I'd rather be Miss Happy than Scrumpy.
Okay, knock yourself out.
Go ahead.
No,
You introduce
I'm done.
everyone. No, you're good.
This is the way that the last show ended. I got nothing.
Okay, no. Well,
You do have a
No,
whole
I
No.
wouldn't. Go ahead,
you
Tina.
can do it. Okay.
You have guests. Yeah, it's not true that you have nothing. You have guests.
We have everything. We have everything we need here. So, from the great state of Washington is our friend, Michael Markman.
How do you do? The state of Washington continues to be great. We had about 80% of the annular eclipse yesterday,
Oh,
seen through clouds, peeking through the clouds.
that's exciting.
Well, it was.
You're
Did-
struggling. You're
did you see
struggling
it
there.
all?
You're struggling with it was.
Did you see anything through the clouds?
Yeah, yes, you could see it. You could see it barely through the clouds. There's some great local pictures posted. I didn't post one.
All right.
Pretty spectacular.
All right, thank you. So this is so difficult, Steve, because this always goes back to you. Okay, from our let's see, from the framework of Massachusetts.
You too?
Yeah, of course.
Bono.
It's Bobriant.
I'd like peripatetic names for 400, please. Hi, Tina. Hi, everybody. Nice to be back.
You're in front of a lot of your artwork there. How's it going?
I am. I haven't done anything since probably May. I've got a few things to start on this week.
Okay. Get to that, Dennis. We want some new stuff.
New stuff. Yeah.
It's good for the soul.
Those chicken soups are right here.
The soul.
Okay, all right, and our next gang member hails from England, but he's really living in Palo Alto, California. Welcome, Keith Tier.
Great pleasure to be introduced by such a civil human being of good
Yeah.
spirit.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Are you making any invidious comparisons?
And I just want to say, Dennis, that the black with the yellow and the red is very similar to post-revolutionary Russian art that the left opposition against Stalin was
Oh, no.
highly
Oh, no.
favorable
Oh,
towards.
no.
Oh, you mean this thing right up here?
That yellow and that behind your head.
Yeah, it's a clock.
Oh, is it actually a clock or is it? a
There
piece
was
of
once
art?
a clock in this
No, well,
post-Stalin
it's a clock.
era.
It probably needs to be set, but it's a clock.
It's postmodernist Russian art, is what that is.
Wow.
It represents
Postmodernist.
the Planck constant time after the Big Bang.
Interesting.
When time and form were condensing. It was the
Anyway.
only time the universe was expanding faster than the speed of light, hence it's black.
Those time stories just get all muddled up, don't they?
Those of
Time is
you
on my side.
those who are less artistically challenged than me probably know the name of the
Not
Russian
so easy,
artist.
is it, huh? This is how you do this. You keep
Look
this.
what you've done.
The Russian
Kandinsky,
artist?
was it Kandinsky?
Kandinsky, that is correct.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Was he Russian
And
or
from-
German? He was Russian. Yeah.
And from London, England, but not really from London, England. He's living in London, England for a long time now, is our old friend, Frank Radis. Hello, Frank.
Hi, Tina. Hello, gangsters. Hi there, Steve. Ah, you're back. Yes, I actually hail from Washington, D.C., then New York City, and then various places around the world, ending up here.
Right.
Very civilized here, I gotta say.
Ooh,
Compared to places that
debatable.
aren't compared to places that aren't as civilized.
You'll be in the States soon.
I'll be in the States next week, as a matter on Thursday.
All right. We got to talk about that. All right.
Wednesday.
Very good. I'm going to
I land in Charlotte, actually. That's where they're flying me from London to Charlotte. It's weird. I've never done that before.
Well,
Really?
frankly, Charlotte.
I don't give a damn.
What airline?
American Airlines.
Okay.
I've also not flown American Airlines in about 30 years transatlantic. So we'll see.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah.
Okay. And our last, but certainly not least. Oh, wait. Do I?
No, you got two more.
No,
I got
you
two
don't.
more.
No, thanks.
Well,
Brent Leary hails from Delaware, is currently living in and around Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, but I did hail an Uber in London last week, and I didn't even
Yeah.
get a chance to see Frank.
no, you didn't. Damn it.
I know.
I didn't know you were from Delaware. You know the Henlopen Hotel in Rehoboth?
No,
Are you familiar with that? No. Okay.
I'm a Wilmington guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice and
And joining us from right next door is Tina Chase Gillmor. Welcome.
Oh, no. Hi.
Now you get
That's
to
me.
talk.
Oh, well, hi. I missed everybody. I'm glad we're here today. And let's get on with the show.
Get on with the show.
I think
Okay, so what do you want to talk about?
I think Keith posted some really great stuff about what's going on in the Middle East right now.
Well, let Keith talk about what he wants to talk about. Not me.
That was kind of my segue was, what do you think about that, Keith?
It's not my favorite topic, I'll tell you that, because there isn't a whole lot of heartwarmingness that can come out of it. But I wrote an editorial that was driven by three other writers, Ray Dalio, Graham Allison, and Noah Smith, who all tried to put into context the way they put it is the decline of Pax Americana leading to opportunistic violence around the world, whether Ukraine or what we just have seen in Israel, or likely other places in future, meaning that that these regional conflicts are symptomatic of a likely future global conflict, where the main players are the US and China, and that these incidents are symbolic rather than have meaning in and of themselves of this greater history playing itself out. And they all refer back to the 20th century, and they have this common belief that history will repeat itself.
Okay,
Which
so
I-
you've done a good version of this show on your show. What's it called? That's the week that was.
That was the week.
Okay, so I'd like to move. I would recommend that everybody watch that. I enjoyed it. That's you and Andrew Keene.
Yeah.
And it's a good, fast way of summarizing your newsletter.
Yeah.
Anybody else got something?
I
would
was
just
I
like
wanted to I wanted to say that I thought as sort of well placed all of those stories were in a historical context, that that the part that resonated with me was the role that Hezbollah and Iran will play in the next phase of whatever's going on in Gaza with the Israelis, which is the sort of the next explosion, if you will, of momentum that heads out toward. It just seems like it makes sense that it's going to be China, America, that's going to, but it seems to me like the boiling point. And there was someone who wrote this incredible book about, I think it might have been Thomas Friedman, about the exactly what's going on now as the tipping point.
Yeah.
Michael Markman, any thoughts?
Yeah, but they're all jumbled, frankly. It's so hard to
So
So,
hit one
look,
so that
pardon
we
me?
can move.
Oh, okay. No, I do think, I do agree with everyone who says this conflict is entangled with other conflicts. And I don't think it stops with Iran and Hezbollah. And it's not simply Pax Americana. I mean, there are lots of power and economic centers around the world, all deeply intertwined. And it does feel like it's eroding and fraying.
Intertwingled, is that a made-up word?
It's a good word.
It is. I didn't make it up though. Um,
Dennis?
it comes from Ted Nelson in one of his early books about computers, and that was his saying. Everything is deeply intertwined.
One of the things that I've been researching and writing about, have not published yet, lately, is the concept of a new medievalism. I think everybody's talking about individual aspects. One of the things that impresses me is that medievalism starts with the decline of a central power, but it goes much deeper than just politics. If you look at some of the things that are going on in this country, things like the decline of learning, the substitution of opinion or superstition for knowledge. Healthcare is a mess. Not just in the United States, but in many countries in the world, including the United States, longevity is declining due to diseases that we thought we'd figured out a long time ago, and some diseases of modern life, like type 2 diabetes, and there are people talking about type 3 diabetes now as well. So you put a lot of this together, and I don't have an answer. I agree with most of you about what you're saying, but I think it's actually a bigger problem.
Well, America has up until the last 5 years been the greatest superpower and the sort of the police force of the world, whether they wanted to say they were or they weren't. And the fact that they are no longer either of those things, or at least it appears that they are no longer either of those two things, because of sort of a nationalistic trend that happened starting in 2016, or actually even before that, if you go back to the Tea Party, that I, you could put a finger of blame right there, I think, on the whole global conflict.
But Frank, don't you think those are political symptoms of
Yeah.
underlying causes?
Yeah, but apples, oranges.
Could you say more
Well,
about that?
you know,
Keith?
if you look at, there's an interesting book I haven't read, but it's on my list. I believe it's titled How Great Nations Die or Fail or something like that. And every 10 years somebody writes a book like that. I can go back to the 1980s and find a book like that. But one of the striking things is that these authors I know say that great nations crumble from within. They aren't defeated outside. And I think when we start talking about the Tea Party and the last 5 years, I think what you're looking at is that very kind of crumbling beginning.
Yeah.
And the question is there a way? There it is, right? Oh, Paul Kennedy. Yeah, that's 1984.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Tina,
But
can
there
you
were more
jump
recent
in on this,
ones.
please?
Well. I think that in the light of the geopolitical stuff that's going on this week, the shocking stuff that's going on this week, and what Dennis is saying about sort of this crumbling from within, I guess I'm feeling that in the United States. I'm feeling that I feel like we still have we're still sort of a beacon in a sense, but I think that there are so many things that people don't want to emulate about us now. I think that we've got, when you look at what's going on in Congress, we have a Speaker of the House. It's like, what's going on here? Like, can't anybody get it together? And it does feel like this internal churning or angst or something. It's like it doesn't seem like there's a right word for it, but it's very unsettling. I never liked the idea that America is the world's cop or anything like that anyway, but how can we I don't know what kind of face we're going to be putting on in this war. How we're going to get entangled is pretty scary to me. And I don't know that we have much of a choice.
Jim Jordan will fix all that.
I think a good
Hang on a second. Hang on. I want to get everybody into the conversation, please. Brent.
Yeah, I have nothing good to add to this. So let's keep moving.
Okay. Keith, you were saying?
I was going to say, I think it's important at times like this to try to find a future you can believe in, as opposed to regretting a past that's gone away. And I think the future you can believe in requires optimism and self-confidence. And if you think about the thing that is most lost in the world today, I think it's optimism and self-confidence, because that requires a belief in progress that will affect your own life in a good way. And I think if we drill down into what are the possible sources of a belief in progress, you can start to find optimism or reasons for optimism. And it feels to me like that's the right thing to do in a period like this. That's why you absolutely, personally speaking, have to support Israel at this moment, because if they were to lose, in quotes, it would not be optimistic. It would be, as Dennis said, medievalism would win. And I don't think any of us want that. And so sources of optimism, I think, is the topic of the day for anybody who wants to represent the future. And that's not easy, because the economic underpinnings of optimism are challenged, mostly the economic underpinnings. And when the economic underpinnings are challenged, there's victims, and those victims become pessimistic and do random things that even aren't in their interests.
Mina,
I
what
think-
was your question?
Do you think technology can be a source of optimism? And do you think the technology world is up to the task right now? Because I don't see it, but
it's highly contested, because I personally think AI is a source of optimism, but there are others who will say it's going to destroy jobs.
humanity.
So I think it's a contested space, which is probably appropriate. It should be contested, but then you have to be able to chart a path to the optimistic outcome that is credible.
I think we lost a lot of steps with social media losing news sources, with social media losing oversight. With I think technology was hurt greatly by a lot of those losses, and I think that social media could have been something we could have pointed at and said, here's a way that technology can assist. I agree with you on the one hand, Keith, that optimism is a great way to move forward, but I don't know how people can feel optimistic now the way things are.
Well, technology is not a monolithic force. Technology is owned by corporations who are in competition with each other and taking advantage over each other. So technology itself doesn't move things forward. Everything has to be managed. Certainly we've made huge strides in medicine, the mRNA vaccines, and yet those are disputed for political reasons. The technology of social media, managed a certain way, is a great advance. Managed another way, it increases factionalism. It increases dissent. It allows bad actors to find each other, as well as allowing good actors to find each other.
Yeah,
I was just
technology
showing-
is part of the problem, not the solution. I
So
think we've overshot what technology is good at, and we've buried our heads in the sand when it comes to regulating technology so that it more or less stays within the guardrails. There are no guardrails for technology today, and so the idea of adding AI to this mishigash scares the hell out of me.
Well, I think you can go to a lower level and say, well, what is there a single definition of progress that we could all agree on? Like, my definition of progress is improving human life. And I think you have to add these days, not at the cost of the planet, but improving human life. And historically, that's always correlated to less working hours and more choice in how you spend your time.
Well,
the
only since
ability
the
to-
Industrial Revolution, though, Keith.
Say it again.
Only since the Industrial Revolution,
Yeah, well, that's a long time though.
250 years.
But to your point, Dennis, I was showing this chapter of this. I wrote this in 1996. I don't know if you can see it. If it's
Well, we can see that there's writing. We can't read it.
You can't
it
read
says
it.
political internet ? What a wondrous web we weave. And it was about the impossibility of nationalism once you have a global internet, which of course is totally wrong. This was 1996, today is 2023. And the point I was making is technology has all possible outcomes built within it, good and bad. In other words, technology by itself doesn't presuppose any outcome. It puts possibilities on the canvas, and then it's up to human beings what they do with it. And I think that's
too
true.
philosophical. That's too philosophical. I think we're at the point where we can all agree on that. The next question is, how do we regulate it? And not a lot of people want to discuss that.
I think that's because the word regulation is equal to slow down.
Well, or it's equal to direct. Some things should be slowed, some things should be sped up, and the question is, how do you adjudicate what needs to be slowed down, what's sped up? And one solution is to say, well, let the market decide. But there are lots of reasons to say that that does not give you an optimal solution.
Because
you
who
have
does
separate
that?
players who you have separate players who are all competing with each other for advantage over each other, and it's not by any means guaranteed that the best players will win. I mean, even if you look at the conflicts between various nations, go inside those nations, and there are conflicts within the nations. We see that so clearly here in the United States. It is part of what was going on in Israel before Hamas attacked. It may have been part of what gave the militant wing of Hamas an idea that they could succeed if they attacked, because Israel was showing a great deal of internal dissent. There were demonstrations in the streets for months because of what Netanyahu was trying to do to the courts.
Yeah, but that took a lot of the. I actually saw that as the opening for Hamas.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That internal dissent within nations is part of the dynamic that's going on. It's not just competition between nations.
I had an argument with somebody the other day about. I made a point of saying that Hamas was not the Palestinian people, and the argument came back to me. Of course, online, people will argue that water is actually not something you drink, but but this person said, well, yes, they are. They're absolutely, they represent, they are the government of the Palestinian people in Gaza. And I shut down that, I shut down that category and stopped adding to it because I knew it was going to just go down a rabbit hole.
Did you, Michael this morning shared this New Yorker interview with the political head of Hamas who's in Qatar. And I read it because I hadn't read anything that was from the horse's mouth, as they say. It is, to me, it's irrelevant in a way because the people who broke through the border were killing Jews, not combatants, just Jews. It was completely anti-Semitic murder of the most medieval kind. Now, that interview, when you read it, if these events hadn't have happened, you would read it in a different way than if they had. But what it really says is Hamas, the political organization, which was elected in 2007 but hasn't had an election since, has no control over Hamas, the army that is in control of Gaza. No control, was not even aware that the events were about to happen. And in the aftermath, all they can really do is commentate on it because they weren't actually actively involved in it as a decision-making body. So the separation between Hamas, the political organization, and Hamas, the army, is absolute.
Yeah,
Hamas,
but do you think that was true?
Well,
was he telling the truth?
Well, not quite absolute. What he said was what they didn't know was when, and they didn't know the specifics, and they didn't control the moment of the attack or the ferocity of the attack. But they're definitely aligned. I mean, these things are
aligned. Yes, but not in control.
But I had read one thing where it was where the government had handed off that control to the generals, basically saying that's their job, not ours. They will make the decisions about what it is that they do with those troops, which says to me that basically that guy was lying.
Well, it's delegation, isn't it? It's delegation. If you manage a group, if you're an
following orders,
group, you not only following orders, you give your subordinates a goal, you give your subordinates resources, and you say, go solve the problem. That doesn't mean that they're out of your control. But
that's where you manage. Those are the orders.
The political wing of Hamas gave the military wing of Hamas goals and resources, and to say, oh, we had nothing to do with it is preposterous.
Yeah, those were the
That- I-
The way
orders.
that-
management happens in an organization.
Yeah, but clearly, anyway, we don't need to go down a rabbit hole to do with the New York piece, but it did, for me at least, open up some awareness of those relationships, which I didn't appreciate before. I'll just say that. Now, none of that. I mean, I can tell you, in London yesterday, there was a massive pro-Palestinian demonstration. Frank probably was
Yes.
aware. I mean, I'm talking massive. So what's going on when the world is prepared to interpret the events as having something to do with Palestinian freedom? Those events had nothing to do with Palestinian freedom, which probably most of us would approve of. Those events were just brutal, inhuman, medieval, to take Dennis's word, murder, and played no role whatsoever in helping Palestinians get a future. So why is the world so able to look at those events and interpret them as having something to do with Palestinian self-determination? I don't get it.
That's a good question. I
Well,
think.
can tell you.
I think it's because people, part of it has to do with confirmation bias or a Rorschach test. The interpretation is not in the event. The interpretation is in the expectations of the beholder. And so, people have a model, and in that model, Israel is oppressing the Palestinians. Israel is an apartheid state. Israel is a colonial state. And their model says, let's back the Palestinians. Now, when the Palestinians react by murdering Jews, that should produce some kind of dissonance in the model, but it doesn't. You have confirmation bias, and they say, oh, here's our opportunity to reassert what we were saying the day before the massacre. Because now
moment.
this issue is topic A in the world. 2 weeks ago, topic A in the world was Ukraine. And 2 weeks before that, it was still Ukraine. Suddenly, topic A is Israel-Palestine. So everybody who is invested in the Palestinian cause is now going to show up and say, you see?
Well, in terms of the story of the land grab, I like to call it. Well, I went and did a story there a number of times. I've done stories there and interviewed people on both sides. And the same thing came out of all of their mouths. This is our land. This is our land, whether you were a Palestinian or an Israeli. And it was about Israelis, not just Jews. It was about Israelis. That seems to be what people are looking at and grabbing a hold of during all of this conflict, and thinking about that old story, not about what's going on now. And that's got.
Yes, but
How can you
that is
divorce
what's
the
going on.
two?
That isn't what is going on now. And I think you've touched on the insolvable core of this issue. To many Jews in Israel, the entire greater land of Israel is theirs, and the Palestinians are occupying it.
Mhm.
The Palestinians are occupying the West Bank, and the Palestinians are occupying Gaza. To many Palestinians, the opposite is true.
Yeah.
All of Palestine is theirs, and the Jews are occupying it. Now, there are some people in Palestine, some Palestinians, and some Jews who say, we have to coexist in this land. We have to find some way of doing that, whether it's a two-state solution or some other solution. We need to share this land. But they are not the entire population. And the hardliners are in control in Gaza. The hardliners are in control in Jerusalem. So it's an insolvable problem.
Yeah.
The problem is that in order to even discuss this, you always feel compelled to go back to the history.
Yeah.
And then that becomes a losing argument, because as soon as you go back to the history, it's a contested history. But there are some things that are agreed and common. And I think the first is the very concept of our land on both sides is a denial of the fact that the Palestinian people and the Jewish people are the same people with a different history of religion. They're ethnically the same people. Their difference is Muhammad versus the Torah. And that split happened, as we know.
Well, Shia Sunni.
Right, and that as well. So there is no our land unless our means both. And the idea that one or the other is not entitled is at the very core a mistaken assumption.
Yeah, but it never means both to the people saying it.
Yeah, exactly. So but then you get to practical politics, and things are so deeply wounded. It's interesting to compare it to Ireland, where the Protestants in the north only stopped fighting the Catholics when the EU happened. The EU got rid of the border and peace broke out. And Sinn Féin, which was the political wing of the IRA, is now the biggest political party in the south of Ireland. And so the world has completely changed, and it was all to do with the EU as in a superset authority that embraced both. And with the Brexit, it's now threatened again. That peace is threatened, not seriously, I don't think. I think they're figuring it out, but it certainly has undermined it. Now, in the Middle East, there's no equivalent superset. So it's so baked in. This week, I've read one-state solution, two-state solutions, and even three-state solutions. And all of those different solutions, the only one that makes any sense, if one could turn off everyone's brain, is the one-state solution. But that ain't going to happen.
No.
But it would make sense for a proper democracy with both Palestinians and Jews living in it. The two-state and the three-state are both compromises to solidify and make permanent the differences. So it's a no-win. Right now, it's a no-win. And there's
Okay.
no 6%.
I'm blowing the whistle on this. Anything else that we want to discuss before we run out of time here?
The speaker situation is kind of interesting as it pertains to the election. I mean, I don't think it's that interesting in and of itself, but in the broader canvas of what's going on in politics, it's kind of interesting.
I think China is more interesting. I think China is more interesting, and its satellite Russia is more interesting for the simple reason that we've talked for almost an hour about the new medievalism and the things that are going sideways here. But if you look at those large authoritarian countries, they've all got big problems too. And as a matter of fact, what separates us is that we in the West have tools built into our democracies for getting us through these rough times, whereas these one ruler states with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin don't. And for that reason, we may, rather than having a pure new medievalism, we might be in a race to the bottom. Democracies versus authoritarianism. And I suspect the authoritarians will crash first. We will be diminished, but we will survive.
It's an uphill climb to the bottom, Dennis.
I mean, it's an interesting framing because those countries that you mentioned have never been democracies, ever. And
Russia for 10 minutes.
Well, not really. Well, okay, I'll give you it, but I think it's a questionable democracy. And then,
Sure.
And if you look at the history of the world through the spectrum of democracy, clearly we all support democracy. But it's only been achieved in small pockets of time in small numbers of countries because we're still primitive. I mean, in some ways, we are still medieval in many parts of the world.
Yes.
Because that progress towards democracy is warped. I actually think the biggest contribution to warping it is colonialism and the British Empire. It kind of froze in time relationships in countries that were there when it engaged with them and didn't allow them to progress beyond that until after the Second World War, when you got decolonization. So you've got relatively new countries, I'm talking post-1950, that some of whom have become democratic, others haven't. But democracy is not the assumed frame for those countries. It's an aspiration for a lot of people in them, but it's never happened.
You're totally right. For
Yeah.
most of them, it's capitalism. Capitalism as a governing principle, not not democracy, not life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I get that.
Yeah. Yes.
other thing-
The Brits were not very nice people.
Well, the other thing, just to continue what you're talking about is, Pax Britannica gave way almost seamlessly to Pax Americana. So we are in a position right now that we really haven't been in since the Napoleonic Wars.
Yeah, but I don't know if World War I and World War II is a seamless transition from Pax Britannica to Pax Americana. It's pretty. It was a pretty violent transition.
The cynical,
It was a violent transition, but in terms of somebody else taking the helm for a while, nobody did.
the cynical British view, which has some truth to it, is that the end of the pound as the reserve currency, the gold standard followed by the dollar, and the fact that America only joined the war after Pearl Harbor are all evidence of an American self-interest in Britain's bankruptcy.
That's
exactly.
that's not only a British view, by the way. If you read Herman Wouk's novels about World War II, The Winds of War, he makes that claim pretty much as well. America supported Britain only to the extent that it would lose slowly, and then came into the war.
That's a great
Well,
book.
Well,
So that
yeah,
shines a new
America-
light. It shines a light on the concept of proxy wars, where the stated purpose of the war is superseded by a greater purpose. In this case, the transition to an American century. And so confusing the discussion of the actual conflict with the discussion of the purpose of the conflict is wrong. They're two separate things.
Well, I think from my reading of history shows that it's impossible to think that FDR did not want to end colonialism, and it was World War II was his mechanism. Yeah, you had to impoverish the British before they'd let go of their colonies, but look at the post-war construction of the international order. And it was all pure. It was pure Roosevelt. It was pure United Nations, and it was pure. Let's not be colonialists anymore.
Yeah. Well, that Truman Doctrine that replaced it was a different version of global supremacy. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got about 5 minutes left. Anything else we want to talk about?
Yeah, go watch the Beckham documentary. It's spectacular, even if you don't care about football. Watch the Beckham documentary. It's unbelievably good. And Lupin season 3, blow you away.
Somebody
Yes,
say football.
Sort of. Not,
Football is so down to play some football.
I thought Lupin was repetitive and ultimately diminishing.
Really?
Lupin, what's that?
Yeah.
It's about a
series from France on Netflix. It's
Gentleman
basically
thief.
spy versus spy kind of.
Well, crook versus cop.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought
I
thought
liked it
I
very
like
much.
the first, 17 hours, and
I like that.
not so much the last 3.
So I'm watching Lessons in Chemistry.
I want to see that.
The morning show, and
Great.
I saved up Billions. So I'm watching the last 3 episodes of Billions, which
Well, I'm
Yes.
not going to pay the tax on.
I have to
Netflix.
tell you something, Keith. As having worked,
Is this a spoiler coming?
having worked on Good Morning America and the Today Show, I can tell you so much of that stuff is spot on in those shows. It is really believable. And interestingly enough, one of the producers of the show is Brian Stelter, who was a writer at the New York Times and then wrote the TV column and was the TV media journalist at CNN until he was fired unceremoniously by Chris Licht, is a good friend of mine. And he wrote the book called The Morning Show, which ended up becoming that series. And I was quoted profusely without attribution, which really pissed me off. Anyway.
No, is he executive producer simply because he wrote the book, or is he a participant?
He's must be just a participant. He's also, I think he's just a participant because
Executive producer is a title that refers to who has enough clout to get an executive producer title.
yeah. And you know, I
What a
think
job.
no, I don't think he's actively involved in it. Although I have to say that a lot of the things that you see on there, I'll turn to my wife and say, see, I know Stelter wrote that. So, you know, he could be in the writer's room for all I know. I just haven't spoken to him in a while.
Have any of you watched Flora and Son?
No.
No,
What is it
No.
called?
Flora and Son. It's on Apple TV Plus. It's set in Ireland.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Irish mum with a rebellious teen.
I have watched it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Oh, sounds like
why
one
did
to go
you,
to.
Brent, why did you like it?
I thought the leading lady was good looking, and I've seen her in a couple of things before. And it has a good story. And that dude, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, was in it. I like him.
Oh, I like him. He's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did he come from?
That
TV show,
weird
wasn't
show,
it?
Alf, or something like that, or Third Rock from the Moon, or
Third
Alf,
Rock from the
Rock
Sun.
from the Sun, yes.
Third Rock
Yeah.
from the Sun.
something like that.
Yeah, I don't have Third Rock from the Moon. It must be
Yeah.
It was a remake.
Whatever.
Okay,
Levitt
so-
has had a fascinating career. He's got quite a bit of range. And he's also a writer and producer, and I always enjoy him in whatever he appears in.
I think he directs too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about Beatle news?
What about
Ringo
it?
Starr has a new album.
No,
We're not-
actually,
we're not
as
talking
EP.
about- We're not talking about
No,
Bobert,
no.
are we?
It's
talking about the
terrible.
Bobert.
I tried to listen to it. I couldn't listen.
Well,
Oh,
why-
Beatles.
why
I
would
thought you were talking about Beetlejuice. I thought you talked about that Bobert situation.
What is
Yeah,
that?
that was that was a hell of a situation.
Back to Congress, huh?
She and George Santos together just really say a lot about how great Congress is these days.
Well, it's
Excuse me,
moving somewhere.
Republicans. Congress is fine. It's the Republicans.
Except for Menendez. Oh
Except
my
for
God.
everybody else.
Menendez is an Egyptian spy.
Did you like the Ringo EP, Steve?
No, I haven't even heard it. I have no interest in it whatsoever.
Yeah,
Why
I
not?
I should
Ringo
have
was
gone-
great in the Beatles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Except when he
I like
sang.
Todd Rundgren in Ringo's tour, but evidently that isn't happening anymore.
Rick Derringer played in that tour, by
Uh-huh.
the way. He
I
that
think-
was pretty cool.
So
If
there's
Ringo-
a great video that I posted on Substack. Remember Substack?
Oh yeah.
We all use it.
How long that's going to last?
Why do you say that?
Oh, because they're not only supporting a subscription model, which we've seen how that goes. That's why. I read the. I'm going to post the last show we did with a commentary about my question. I'm concerned. Any market has to have at least two entries, and right now we've got one.
What's
which
the
is
one?
Substack.
Oh,
Yeah,
What-
I mean,
whatever.
Substack- Go ahead.
weren't you high on not the Clubhouse, but the
I haven't been high on any medication in years.
What's that Twitter?
You don't know what you're
Twitter
missing.
Spaces.
The Twitter audio
Spaces.
platform. What was that again? I can't remember.
Spaces.
Twitter.
Spaces.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
weren't you high on that one too?
I was high on no, the other
Careful.
one, Clubhouse.
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. They
I
have
thought
the
you were higher
apps and
on
stuff.
Twitter Spaces than you were on Clubhouse.
If you go back, and I wrote all that stuff down. So if you can argue with the words rather than me.
I thought you were. I thought you were interested in what happened after the dude bought the thing. He was gonna he was going to revolutionize all that stuff and make
That, oh, I never said that.
X great again.
I don't think X has ever been great, but
I do have one orthogonal note about Substack that actually loops back into what everything else we were talking about, and that is Substack's one breakout star, Heather Cox Richardson.
Oh.
There's a new book out about democracy in the United States, and it's
Okay, I gotta ask.
Yeah.
You
It's
said she's a
already
breakout
number
star.
4 on the New York Times.
Yeah.
New
list.
York Times, I saw that. Yeah.
she's a breakout star. She really is.
I don't
It's
know who
not
she
accurate
is.
statement.
Who is she?
And she's been around a while too. It's not
You don't
like she's
care.
a teenager.
You don't care about what we're talking about. So what do you mean? No.
But if you're a breakout star, that I mean,
She's a history professor.
You know, I'll take her. Revenue stream
how much is she making? I don't know.
better than anybody else on this show.
Oh, that's probably for sure.
So the way
Well,
to I
And
would
she's a history professor who's written
Oh.
several books,
Okay.
including How the South Won the Civil War, and she writes a
How
daily.
the South won the Civil War?
Yes, and she
Look at America today, Brent.
She writes a daily newsletter summarizing the day's news, which, as Steve has noted previously on this show, is one of the best daily news
Yeah.
summaries you'll find anywhere.
Yeah, it is. Except when she decides to write about her chickens and doesn't do politics, I get pissed off.
I know,
when she
but
does
that's
it.
great because that means I have a day off and I don't have to read the whole thing about what happened in 1873.
She's really good though.
She's really good about it,
Yeah.
all of that. I know nothing except what I've learned from reading her columns. I mean, she's terrific.
I've got a question for
What
Frank.
has that got to do with it? Doesn't loop back to anything.
Yes, it loops back to what we were talking about.
Well, I haven't heard that part yet because you didn't mention it. You set it up, but you
It's
didn't
about,
actually
well,
prove it.
okay. It's about the threats to democracy in America. It's about the persistent anti-democratic threats to America and how they occasionally come to the fore and how America can beat them back.
But that goes back to the need for sources of optimism because
Yeah, but I don't agree with the summary when you say that it, and how to beat it back. I think she's very strong on the history, less so on, well, what do we do about this?
well, but that's my point. Democracy can't survive if everyone's pessimistic. If everyone's pessimistic about the future, democracy will definitely not survive. So
Democracy dies in darkness.
That's
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that that's a provable statement. It's
Yeah,
possible,
but it's a great tagline.
it's
But it's an
possible that
opinion.
Marjorie Taylor Greene and that whole gang are going to lead to a flowering of democracy in retro.
By getting them out.
well, that's one possible scenario, which is the
Yeah, so
counter.
but that's not the scenario that you're talking about, which is that we've got to be positive about this.
Well, you can only beat Marjorie Taylor Greene with an alternative, and so the alternative has to be something everybody wants, or at least
Okay, what's
most-
that?
That's my point. The
Anyone.
sources of that.
What's that?
So,
Not in
Biden
this
I-
country.
2024 and Hakeem Jeffries.
but before
Yes.
we,
Everybody
before
is for
we-
Hakeem Jeffrey. I don't
He's
think that's the
incredible.
case in this
Really?
country. In this
Well,
country?
In this country,
Really?
yeah. No, you're right.
You know, but
But smart
democracy
people
does
are
not
for him.
require everybody to be in favor of one thing.
Not
Yeah.
everybody, but you've got to have there has to be a positive view of the future.
Well, have you ever heard Biden
It's an
speak?
interesting theory, but it isn't necessarily true.
It's just my opinion. I
Possible
agree.
that, yeah, fair enough.
Have you
A
ever
lot
heard
of different-
Biden?
Look,
Biden's
if you
what?
don't have a positive view of the future, just go sit on the curb and spit in the road.
No, but there are a lot of different people,
If
and
you,
their
if you don't,
idea
if
of
you don't have a
positivity is
positive
not
view
the
of the
same
future,
thing.
go out and
that's-
sit in your
How
garage.
much can I get for that?
car on.
What kind of, sounds like a good job.
Spit in the road. What do you do
But-
for a living?
but
Spit
it-
in the road.
It's
No,
the,
but
hey,
if
get
it-
off
if-
my lawn, I'm 75 today.
Oh, happy
yesterday.
birthday, by the way.
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Oh, it
Mike.
was really happy.
You look it.
I do?
You don't look a day over 76 either.
No, I think he looks good.
He
Oh,
does.
Yeah.
Oh,
look
look
at
at that
that.
picture. That's
That was-
good. I
that
like
was
He
a
does
nice
look good.
shot
I
there.
agree.
That was cute.
I couldn't resist the Yorkshire joke.
What was
I
the
s-
joke?
You don't look a day over 76.
That's the spirit.
Okay.
Okay. Where's the
At the
cats?
risk of-
I saw your
at the
cat,
risk
Dennis.
of killing the frog.
The dog is right here.
Can you explain the joke? Because I don't get it.
No, I'm never.
Oh.
You know, my friends always accuse me of being the person who tries to explain jokes after I've laughed at them myself, and I recognize that person, and I'm not going to become it again.
You know, there's
The best thing to do would be
really-
not to laugh at your own jokes. Then you
I
wouldn't
can't
be
help it because
accused-
I
oh.
find them funny.
I want to say this. There is a law, a standing law in stand-up comedy, which is if you have to explain them, don't tell them.
Yeah, Dennis needs to go. By the way, somebody should. We should acknowledge his wonderful contribution before he
Thanks,
leaves.
Jens.
Well, thank you
Okay.
all. It's good to see you. Hope we do this again sooner than later.
Yes.
thank you,
Right,
Dennis.
fair
Have a good
enough.
week.
On
See you guys.
Substack, Steve, I've got a question for Frank. How many hits do you think Substack has to have for the subscription 10% to be able to fund the whole thing? Yeah, in other words, is it possible
Hmm.
that, I don't know, 50 superstar Substacks is enough to fund the whole thing, each with millions of subscribers?
Probably that sounds doable. But boy, that's a tough question. I keep looking at trying to figure out through the analytics and the statistics of exactly where the sweet spot is. And I haven't been able to figure it out. So consequently, I'm not doing any more. I'm not moving towards monetizing my my newsletter, for example. And I mean, I don't have nearly as many followers as you do, Keith. I don't see it. I don't see it growing big enough yet either. But so I just don't know what that number is.
No, I failed. Steve knows what I did, but you guys probably don't, so I'll tell you. About a year ago, I put everybody on a 12-month or 6-month, 12 months for those people, and then ever since then, new subscribers, 6 months free paid plan. So I comped them. And my theory was if I deliver good content,
They'd stay.
they'll keep paying, they'll pay after the, and the truth is less than 1% pay.
Yeah. It sounds like
So-
streaming churn.
But
Yeah,
Yeah, but they all stay for free. When they don't pay, they don't go off. They stay for free.
that's
Yeah.
because they got used to they got used to getting it for free. It's hard to make people pay for stuff when they've been so used to getting it for free.
And
Yeah,
to be
that's
honest, I
like
get
you mean
and then
television versus streaming?
well, no, but
Yeah,
wait,
basically. And, you know, it's hard to get people to pay for free means, what are we talking about?
well, I get
All
paid
this
in
stuff that's, you know, coming out on the air, that it doesn't work that way. It works a different way.
yeah, I get paid.
Called sponsorship advertising.
I've given up on it. I mean, honestly, if fill in the blank big company came to me and said, we'd like to sponsor That Was the Week because we like the content, here's $50,000 a year, I'd definitely take it.
Absolutely. And
But
that's
I'm
the
not
way to do
gonna,
it.
but I'm not going to put even a minute of time into trying to make that happen.
Well, that's probably a smart thing not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not the question is the only model, is it either totally advertising based or totally subscription based? And I've never seen any example of that.
Got to be a hybrid.
It's like democracy 70% and autocracy 12%. And what we got going on now around the
Well,
Well, there are
Yes.
hybrids, Brent. They're certainly Discovery's trying to do it. Netflix is trying to do it. Amazon is
do what?
yeah, but when you
have
think of-
be able to have a advertiser tier and a subscription tier. But what they've done is to create separate entities. So, for example, Prime Video has Freevee, as opposed to
Yes,
you get
absolutely horrible. I get that.
no,
Well,
what
we're-
Amazon
We're in this zone now
All right, I'm done.
where peak TV is completely
don't go away, Brent. I want to hear what you have to say.
Brent, he turned his mic off. Bye, Brent.
Oh,
He's listening.
He's
Oh,
listening.
what did,
He's
oh.
listening. He's not saying.
oh, that's too
Um,
bad. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Freevee,
There's a game on.
Freevee has this obnoxious problem of having the ads come in randomly
Yeah.
or apparently randomly. In fact, I'm sure it's actually totally not random the way they come in randomly.
Yeah, but they're weird. They're so weird the way they come
Yeah,
and go.
it's just annoying.
Yeah.
And then they go away just as quickly.
Yeah,
So
without
if
without-
you're running to the bathroom, they catch you, with your pants down, literally.
well, yeah, but some of their ads are only 15 seconds and 30
Yeah,
seconds.
exactly.
Too.
It's horrendous.
You don't have time to go
worst.
to the bathroom, damn it.
Exactly. and I need more and more time that I'm not getting.
These days.
That's right.
Just don't get a middle seat. That's all I'm saying.
The 49ers are tied at 10 in the third quarter.
And does that mean anything?
That's where Brent's head is.
No, I'm watching the Falcons game here.
Yeah, exactly.
And they just scored. Look at that. They just scored.
Wow, look, and he does the quick cut.
Nice
Well
job.
played.
Was that
Well
a replay? Did
That's
you get
his
right?
A10 mini. He's got an A10 mini there or something like that.
Among other things.
What were you going to say, Brent? I was curious when we were
About
talking
what?
about that.
Right.
Yeah, we
I
were
forgot.
talking about
Oh, the advertiser. No, I was saying that you guys were mentioning like the Amazon Prime and the freebie, it's all subsidized by AWS. And
Yeah.
just like Apple is subsidizing Apple TV with selling actual stuff.
yeah.
It's
Those are the
all
companies
being
that are-
Even
subsidized.
though their actual stuff isn't working very well right now.
It's
by the
all
way.
subsidized by us.
Yes,
We
that's
are
true.
in charge. The people that are moving to so-called FAST, FAST,
Free advertiser supported
that's right.
television.
It's dominating television and will
Yeah.
continue
So
to.
I do have a question for the group. Should I or should I not try and buy an Apple iPhone 15 Pro? Should I do it or should I wait for
Not
the
if you're
16?
buying it for the camera. The camera is not as good as they put it out to be.
Really?
I
said-
am on the other side of that debate.
Well, you bought it. So you don't
Well,
have.
I can't,
I
honestly,
have a friend who's a professional photographer who says it is all it's cracked up to be.
I can't find one. I wanted to take a trip to New York on the 19th and just go into the city and buy it. And I can't get it. I can't get it.
No, because there's this thing called Christmas coming up or holidays. And so they're going to be back ordered through that. So they're
Brent, you got to
back
do
ordered.
this. You see this? This is a Thunderbolt cable attached to an SSD, 2 terabytes, very fast. You put that into your iPhone, and this is a magnet. It goes on the back. What you get is ProRes raw video to an external USB drive that is unbelievably good. It's better than a DSLR or mirrorless camera for most things.
Yeah. I just dropped a link into a YouTube video. I don't know if you guys follow Tony and Chelsea Northrup, but they've been one of the leading photography influencers on, let's see, YouTube for years. They got over 1 million followers. They just did a video comparing the cameras, lenses, 14 and 15. Yeah, you just for yourself. I mean, they put it through the paces. They do a pretty good job. They talk about how certain views with that new camera is software lenses versus physical lenses, which is what those guys are really good at looking at. So
No, they're right about that.
yeah,
There's 3 physical lenses, and then 7 of the 7, 3 are physical.
So that doesn't answer my question. Yes, no, buy it, don't buy it. I don't know.
what
The
version?
happy with
answer
what
is
you
you
have?
can't buy it. You can't.
Well, okay, let's assume that I could buy it. There's an awful lot of stuff
Let's
that
assume that
the
democracy is
overheating
going to
issue.
ring out and take over and dominate in the world.
What
It's
phone are
only
they
worth
stepping up
this-
from?
Right.
It's only worth buying if you're going to use the 5 times zoom lens,
but that's only on the Max
the Max
yeah,
Pro.
it's-
Max Pro.
And it's not even 5 times.
Yeah. And to me, the Max Pro seems a little unwieldy anyway. I was holding on to it and I was didn't fit in one of my phone pockets, which kind of pissed me off.
It changes after about a week of use. It starts to feel small again.
Oh, okay. Is that
Oh,
what
that's
she
great.
said? That's what she said.
As your eyes further deteriorate. I'm really doing well with staying away from anything other than the iPhone 12, which is where I'm stuck now.
Me too. And I love my iPhone 12, honestly. I think it's a great phone and it's a good camera.
Don't
But
give it up. If you give them, they'll give you $250 for it.
nah, I wouldn't
it's
do that.
gone.
I'm going to give it to my wife. She gets the hand-me-down iPhones.
Yeah, well,
Why does that
Just-
always happen to?
Well, because I said to her, I'll buy you a brand new one right now. She goes, nah, I don't want a brand new one. I'll just take yours. So there
Yeah.
you go. She's
Yeah.
said that to me. I did not have to go to her and
now
say,
I wonder why she would say that.
Steve was just about to tell me the other day that he was going to give me his 12, and I'm like,
I
but
never,
you didn't.
no, I
But
asked you
you
a
didn't
question,
say
which
it.
was, you have the small one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
okay.
mini, a 12 mini.
You're not going to get a 12.
12 is a good camera phone. It's a good.
It's great. I got it. It's so far. I don't want it. I want what you're trying to get. And there's a reason for it.
Why? What?
Oh, you want to ask me?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking you. Yes.
Yeah, it's for all those stereo
Ah,
3D videos that I won't be making
Yeah.
because I can't get the camera.
you can't get the eyepiece.
It's just wait for the hood ornament.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, my question wasn't answered successfully.
So Frank, what you're working with now is the 12?
A 12 Pro. I
Yeah.
like it.
I'd keep
It's
it.
good.
Wait
it's good
until
cam.
16. 16 I hear is going to be a bigger.
The only
Yeah,
problem with this is the battery is like on
Well,
fumes.
That's why I got this extra battery for a case. It's makes it heavy.
Yeah,
but
and if you put that together with what Keith is showing you, you can have like this origami set.
it's like this. And
A Graflex camera by the time you're finished.
no, I think that the 16 will take all. I mean, there's an awful lot of bucks and bugs
That's
in the
my
15
theory,
right now. I
because
think
I'm
the
not
16
never getting the 16 because
But the 16 is until when?
Not-
never.
next year. I mean,
Yeah.
look, it seems to me like the even numbered iPhones are work better than the odd number iPhones.
Oh,
So this is why we didn't talk about this on the show, is because there is no good answer.
this is.
Wait a minute, the show is still on, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You couldn't prove it by
Yes,
me.
it is.
I
Yeah.
think this has been very interesting this last
Yes,
part.
this whole segment has been lively and
By the way,
Oh.
the Apple store in Palo Alto, the Apple stores in this area all have iPhones available.
So you want to go get me one and send it to
He's
me
in
and I'll
South
pay you?
Kakalaka now. He's not in the high tech space.
I honestly, the price
He's
difference
down here in the
between-
South.
there is a price difference between here and there because which is
and
you know,
I
it's
don't
like-
I don't believe him actually. I think that that's not true.
I did. I just went and looked.
Really?
I chose
And
the
which
iPhone,
one was it when you say all
the
sorts?
15 Pro. I didn't try the Pro Max. I tried
Yeah.
the Pro.
Who wants the
Okay.
15 Pro? I don't.
I'm going to try the Pro Max. Well, the Pro has the 3D.
No,
which is exactly what
No, it
Steve
does.
really wants.
It does.
Not
Both,
true.
both
15 Pro Max, not the 15 Pro. Doesn't have it. Check it out. Be ready to.
So no one can get the Pro
No,
Max?
no, the Pro
Hey.
Max, the Pro Max uniqueness is the 5x zoom lens. Apart from that, they're the same.
Okay, so somebody on the show or somebody watching the show in the future, check out and see whether Keith's right or I'm right.
Well,
I'm good with that.
Keith, can you get the Pro Max?
It's
That's
funny.
exactly the good-
I'm
that is
just
the
on just in the site, they're calling it the 15 Plus. What's that? I've never
Yeah,
heard
I've
of it.
seen that.
Numbers capture an iPhone look incredible.
What was that?
Who's that?
What?
That was a mistake that I made. That was
Oh, okay.
I
But it
think you
wasn't
can
your
actually.
voice.
I think you could actually go down to the local Piggly Wiggly and pick one of those up, though, Steve. Check it
You
out.
have a Piggly Wiggly?
It's a little south of here, but you know.
You have they're only.
You know,
It's not like that.
Keith, I saw that same thing on some site somewhere, and I thought, well, what the hell is that? What is that? Is that
I
a
don't know,
bogus
I
site?
refreshed and it's gone away.
I
So
think it's a-
basically, the Pro Max You can pick it up in store today in Los Gatos. And let me just see if it's only Los Gatos.
Steve, why don't you book your flight so that you can go and
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
Keith,
that's the
go-
only
would you
reason
would you
that
go
would
pick
come.
one up and ship it to me?
Apple, the Stanford Shopping Center or Los Gatos has the 256 gig Pro Max.
Okay, well, they're 256 gig. Give me a break.
Yeah,
What
but
do
if
you
you
want?
use a
What do you
hard
want?
drive,
Let me go back.
They have a
What do you want?
terabyte storage for all those videos that
Okay,
were.
terabyte, they all have it. If you go to
What?
terabyte, there's 7 stores around here that have it.
Really?
terabyte. Jesus.
Pro Max.
Yeah,
So I could call them and order it and
you
have.
could
them
order it online for
immediately.
pickup.
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, available today, in-store pickup.
Yeah, I don't want in-store pickup. I want them to pick up the in-store.
No, you can do that
Send
within, they use Instacart to deliver. So you can, once you start buying it, you'll get an option to
All
have
right,
it delivered.
I will check it out. If that's true, it'll be just like our new TV.
It's
Day it won't be here, the
1,599.
next day it'll be here.
1,599.
What does that mean?
That's the price.
$1,599. That's a
lot
good
of money
price.
for a phone, man.
Yeah, but imagine if you were paying for it here in the UK, it's like £1,900.
No thanks.
Now, if you do the same thing and you don't pick it up in store, let me try that. I'm going to say no trade in. You're going to buy it. You want it to be carrier free. Order by 1:30, delivers to 94306 within 2 hours.
Frank, I'll check the,
Okay,
I'll check
can
the
you-
Charleston.
can you
store and see
send me
if
a
they
link,
have
please?
anything, 'cause
It's
you'll-
just the Apple.
Yeah, if you, Tina,
No,
do
no,
that for
no,
me.
I'm talking about the thing that you just read. Can you send me a link to that?
I think we
Uh,
should stop the
Steve,
show.
by
Why?
the
I'm
way,
having a good
No,
time.
Tina, if you could do
I-
that for me, I could get it shipped from from down there to Savannah.
Look in the chat, Steve.
Yeah, I'll check it
Um,
out, see what if this store has anything.
This,
Keith, can you tell me
in the
this?
chat where this disappears?
I-
No,
when
it'll
the show's
save.
over?
You
Oh,
can
that's
copy and
great.
paste it. Copy and paste it before it.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Keith? Can you tell me this? Does your iPhone 15 shoot spatial video now, or is that a
No,
later
no.
that's a later software
yeah,
enhancement?
correct.
So, Steve, you don't have to be in any hurry because you can't shoot 3D video until they release that software.
I'm not in any hurry.
Okay.
I just wanted to
matter whether
hear.
you can get one today or not. You
Oh,
can't.
I just
I'm
want a new
definitely,
phone.
definitely, I'm more in a hurry if what Keith says is true. If it's not true, then I'm right where I am right now.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so I'll find out, you find out,
And then we'll all know.
and we'll make it happen.
And
Okay.
I do
By the
think.
way,
I do
my
think
Mercedes just got Chat GPT built in. So yesterday I was driving my kid and he said no. So I said, "Hey Mercedes, what's the capital of Czechoslovakia?" And it came back, "There is no such place as Czechoslovakia. It was split into 2 states." It told me the whole history. The capital of the Czech Republic is
I think
Prague.
that this is a good
Wow.
good plan is to have ChatGPT talk to your kids directly. Just keep me out of it.
Bypass the human.
Absolutely. They can both be wrong and I'm okay with that.
Chat GPT parenting.
Yikes.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so last thoughts, and I mean last thought.
Nope.
Keith, yes, no.
My last thought is Ringo Starr can't sing.
Actually, I agree with you.
Hmm.
But who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, he's the greatest drummer ever.
Mr.
He's a good drummer.
Boy,
You
does-
ever see that video of all the famous
no.
drummers talking about Ringo
Yes,
Starr?
about how he's the greatest drummer ever. Yeah, but
It's such a great video.
did you see he made up the feel of Get Back between the time that he was walking up the stairs to the roof? Did you know that? I didn't know it.
I did not know that. No.
All the recordings previous to that didn't have that feel. He gets up on the roof and he does this thing, which made it a hit.
Crazy. That's just cray cray.
The
Speaking
guy,
of cray cray, how about Taylor Swift?
I don't care. Do you?
She's brought millions of new viewers to the NFL.
Well, that's good for the NFL.
Brent, you're shaking your head.
Registering a lot of voters. So
Yeah,
there's
that's good.
There's that. And,
Oh,
and
that's
Brent, we
wonderful.
here in London we call her trailer now.
It sounds like the same justification for the Queen. Lots of tourists come to England because of the Queen.
Yes. Now it'd be the time to do that. They're about ready to change the coins to show Charles's face on them too. So I can't wait to get one of those.
Wow.
Brent, any last thoughts?
Nope, just dreading the trip to the airport tomorrow.
Where are you
Oh,
going?
no. Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Vegas.
Nothing like Monday mornings at Hartsfield.
Do you do live shows from the field, Brent?
Yeah, when we can get a good internet connection.
What's your gear for live shows in the field?
Actually, I tape the camera here, and I got like a whole lightweight travel setup now. So everything can fit in my away bag, and it
But
doesn't weigh that much.
what's really going on is
He doesn't want
he's
to
conned
travel
every
with
vendor now to like set up $1 million studio, and then they just put him in the shot.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You should do one day. You should do a little sort of a unboxing of your go bag.
Try one of these.
Oh yeah, I like the little guys. Yeah, they're nice.
They're quite good.
Yeah.
What is that, Keith?
It's like the Rodecaster Mini, but it's got an HDMI input, so you can put a really good camera on it and a mic.
How much?
And it's about $400, I want to say, might be 300.
And it's better than the Rodecaster?
Well, it's smaller and more transportable. So for mobile with a
But does
laptop,
it do the same thing?
yeah, it does totally. There's a new piece of software called
should.
Rode Unify, and Rode Unify is like a digital switcher.
You know, I might actually get that because I do have the Rode Wireless Pro. I just bought that.
Oh yeah, so it connects mics wirelessly like that. Yeah.
Yep. So that's a good idea, Keith.
Keith, could you throw that link into the thing so I can check it out?
Yeah, good luck trying to get it out of the thing before we power off the show.
Send it to me as an email.
It just took me 5 minutes to get over to iMessage.
It's called the Streamer X, Frank. If you do a
Okay,
Google search for Rode Streamer X.
Yeah, you can record when I release the show. You can rewind to that spot and then type it in.
Well, wait a minute. I thought we were.
Last thoughts, Michael Markman.
I thought we were out of time a half hour ago.
We've been
We
out
were.
of time since the beginning of the show.
This is like,
That's it.
Go ahead.
I feel like I'm in my last thoughts. I'm going to spend the week probably in a great deal of dread for all the people who will lose their lives.
Yeah.
I think we all feel that
Been
way.
a sad week so far.
Okay, Frank, last
No,
thoughts.
I have no last thoughts.
Okay.
You got
I'm off to the SCAD Savannah Film Festival to see that. I want to see that movie about Leonard Bernstein. I think that's going to be great. They're going to re-show Oppenheimer and Barbie. I'll probably watch those late night. But
Are you
there's a
gonna
whole
dress
bunch
up?
of.
I
Are you gonna
met
be dressed
Leonard.
up while you watch
I
it?
have. I'm taking a pink tutu, baby.
Oh God.
I met Leonard Bernstein at the what's the hotel that Lennon was shot at?
Oh, the
Chelsea
Dakota.
Hotel.
The Dakota.
Yeah, the Dakota.
Not a
I met him
hotel.
at a party at the Dakota in his suite. It was like,
Television.
hi.
There you go. That's enough.
Was
That's a
it.
meet.
That was
That's a
it.
meeting. I
Yeah.
got that with Paul McCartney once.
I saw
Hey.
the picture.
Hey, Paul, how are you? Take a picture. Thank you.
Okay, everybody's done, right?
Yeah.
Tina, your last thoughts.
No. Peace.
Alrighty then.
I stand for peace in the world.
I agree.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
sad.
We can stand for it, but God knows when it's going to happen.
Thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again next time, if there is a next time.
Oh.
Bye-bye.
Oh. See you guys. Ciao, Maine.
Yep,
See you,
see you
Frank.
guys. I'm out.
See you, Brian.